Good morning, ladies and gents. It's Friday. This will be the last in this series of lessons. So this is number 5 of 5. Next week, I'm probably going to didn't realise I was going to do these for so long almost, actually. I kind of tongue in cheek said, 30 days, but it probably will turn out that way. And they've been quite popular, so I think I'll just keep doing them. So ideally, I would have started with the mega basics. So if you're in my class, I do call them the mega basics. You know, the real kind of, even before you get to the bottom of the pyramid, it's kind of the foundations that go under it. So kind of factors, multiples, primes, things like that. Multiplying decimals. We've done, some multiplying decimals within this, dividing decimals. So I'm going to go right back and make it kind of ever so basic level. But what's interesting is, don't just think, oh well, I'm in year 9, 10, 11, that's going to be too basic. Not at all. It's amazing how quickly you can, I'm always harping on about mastery. It's amazing how quickly you can forget things. So do give it a go. You might surprise yourself, and it's good just as a bit of a refresher as well. So as per yesterday, I had a bit of a mare yesterday actually. The app that I use to edit it cut my head off sometimes, but well, that's probably not a bad thing, is it? As per yesterday, I'm going to put I'll cut this in a moment and I'll put the questions up. You need to pause it, spend 10, 15, 20 minutes, use your notes from yesterday actually to do the questions, and the previous days as well, not just yesterday. Hopefully you've been building upon your mistakes and taking good quality notes and seeing the value of taking notes. It really does help you to become independent, which is a lesson in itself. So pause it when you see the questions, give them a go, then unpause it for the answers, mark them, and then I'll be back to go through each one by one. Good luck. Okay, I hope that went well. It's answers time, as per usual. I'll go through each one by one, kind of pause it, rewind it, so you can take notes and what have you. Don't think I was the last one of the 5. I never need this again. You'll be surprised. These things, in future weeks, these things will pop up again. So it'd be good to have those notes to go back on. So first one was 5 over 6 times 9 over 10. So we got 5 over 6 times 9 over 10. So, multiplying fractions, we just do it. 5 times 9 is 45, and 6 times 10 is 60. Now I know I can use my 15 times table here, so it goes into that 3 times, it goes into that 4 times. Now obviously, if you can't spot that, that's fine. What I quite often say is think of the smallest number that goes into both. So you could put 3 or 5, but the most obvious one is 5, so always pick the most obvious. If they're both even, just half them, and keep halving them until you can't half them anymore. But at that point, do check to see if another number does go into it. So what you could do is you could have divided by 5. Okay, so that goes in 9 times, that goes in 12 times. 9 over 12, so we can now divide that by 3, so we get 3 over 4. That one off. Next up is 12.5 times 8.4. So 12.5 times 8.4. So again, we don't like multiplying with this decimal. So I'm going to take the decimal place out and it becomes 125. Take it out once there, take it out once there, and it becomes times 84. So exactly the same method. 1, 2, 5 times 84. So you do your lines. Remember, people get this wrong because they mess their lines up, make them too small, they squash them up, or they do what I've done. There we go, it makes it a little bit untidy. Never mind. So, most important part is to go from edge of corner of square to corner of square. There we go. So, now I remember I do 5 times 8, 5 times 4, 2 times 8, 2 times 4, etc. So 5 times 8 is 40. Remember your tens and your units. 5 times 4 is 20. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4. So now the channels, have the channel up. So we've got 0 here. I've got 8, 9, 10. So I put my 0 and I carry my 1. So this becomes 4, 5. 11, 15. So I've got my 5, I carry my 1. 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I need a 10. So I've got 1, 0, 5, 0, 0. I always find it now easier to write it out again, so I'm going to put it underneath. 1, 0, 5, 0, 0. And remember, what we take out, we must put back in. Okay, so I took out 2, so I need to put back in 2. 1, 2. Your answer is 105. Another way of doing this, interestingly, is 12.5, wasn't it? So we had 12.5 there and 8.4. So where these two meet, boom, there. If I follow that line down, I get my decimal point in the right place. Another good thing to do is to use a bit of estimation. Remember, when you estimate, you always round to one significant figure. So 12.5 would become 10, and 8.4 would become 8. So your answer would have to be kind of around 80. Now that's helpful because if suddenly you got 10,500 or 1,000 and kind of 50, whatever, then you realise, oh, I've gone wrong really. Okay, 80 seems sensible, doesn't it? I think the baby wipes dried out a little bit. Nothing worse than a dry baby wipe, defeats the purpose. Right, what's next? Evaluate 1 to the power of 7. 1 to the power of 7. So we need 7 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Evaluate, so it means I'm going to multiply here. So evaluate, what does that mean? It means 1 times, which is 1. There you go. I'm not going to spend any more time on that. Pretty straightforward. Okay. Cool beans. Expand, we know that means multiply. So we've got 3x bracket 4x minus 3. So I'm going to multiply here and multiply here. Remember, always, well, don't have to do it this way, I do, it's the way my mind works. 3 times 4 is 12, x times x is x squared. Okay, I explained that in the previous video, didn't I, as well. Then I've got 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay, but what's going to go here? I need to figure out, is that going to be a plus or a minus? Well, I've got a positive times a negative. Two signs different means it's a negative, and I can't forget I've got my x. So I've got 12x squared minus 9x. Express the speed 50 centimeters per second. Into, what's it on? Kilometers per hour. Kilometers per hour. Oh, so this is a mean one. So I've got centimeters, I need to convert it to kilometers. I've got seconds, I need to go to hours. Okay, so I'm going to deal with the time first. So at the moment I've got seconds and I want to get to hours. Okay, so I know actually I need to go to minutes first and then to hours. Okay, so seconds to minutes I'm going to times by 60, minutes to hours I also times by 60. So I'm going to do 50 times 60, which is 3,000. So I need to now obviously times it by 60 again, so 3,000 times 60 is, what's that going to be, 180,000, I think, I hope. Let's see how we go, 180,000. So what I've actually just worked out is that this, whatever this is travelling, it's at 180,000, pen is dying on me. If I was in the class now, I'd have a go at the bin. It's one of my favourite things. 180,000 that's better. 180,000 centimeters per hour. Okay, so that's all you did actually in an exam. You pick up a couple of marks, and happy days for that. However, it wants kilometers. So how do I convert from centimeters to kilometers? Well, a bit like up here, this is the way my brain works, that it needs to be logical. I need to go to meters first. So we need to know what our conversions are. How many centimetres in a metre? Well, it's 100. Okay, so I need to divide by 100. Okay, how many meters in a kilometre? 1,000. So I'd have to divide by 1,000. So divide by 100. Okay, there we go. So I'll actually write this out for you. So I'm going to do 180,000 divided by 100. Okay, I know dividing by 100, the same as moving 2 decimal points. Okay, so I'm going to get 1,800. Okay, there's 18, I'll put it up there. Equals 1,800. Give myself a bit more space down here. Starting off a bit big, didn't I? Okay, so I've got 1,800. So again, remind yourself what we've just done. I've got 1,800 meters, okay, per hour. That's not miles, it's meters. Okay, I don't want meters, I want kilometers. So I now need to do my 1,800 divided by 1,000. Divided by 1,000 means you move 3 decimal places. 1, 2, 3. 1.8. 1.8 what? Always remember your units. Kilometers per hour. Now I know I'm sad, but I think that's a pretty cool question. Okay, and actually that's the sort of question that I imagine your parents would be able to do, because they'd be very on the ball with converting between those sorts of units, those times and those distances. Okay, so once you know your units, it's just that common sense thinking, right, how do I get from there to there, and kind of writing it all methodically. What's next? 45% of 44. 45% of 44 pounds. So let's break our 45% down. We can make it out to 10%, 10%, 10%, and 10%. And now I need a 5%. So how do I work out 10%? Simply move 1 decimal point. £4.40. It seems all I do is move decimal points, isn't it? Oh well. There we go. So I've got another. Each one of these is going to be £4.40. I'll do my best to keep things lined up. Well, I am now anyway. £4. Oh no. So that's my 10%. So what's 5%? Well, once we know 10%, we can work out 5% by halving it. So half of £4 is 2. Half of 40 pence is 20 pence. Add them all up. Zeros. 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18. Carry the 1. 4, 8, 12, 16, 19. £19.80. 45% is £19.80. There's lots of ways you can do that. I mean, if you wanted to, you could have found 50% and then found 5% and taken the 5% away from 50%. Up to you. What's up next? Solve 4x minus 6. 4x minus 6 equals, arrows in the way, equals 42 minus 2x. Equals 42 minus 2x. So, 3-step equation. I'll do some more basic equations next week. I think, you know, they're kind of the mega basics. So, I need to get rid of the smallest x. Which is my smallest x? It's my minus 2x. How do I get rid of minus 2x? I do the opposite. Opposite of minus 2 is add 2. So I need to add 2x to both sides. You notice I always kind of put things in a circle here. It's just so that when I look back, I can spot that that's what I've done. It just means if I make a mistake, or, you know, if it's, you know, multiple parts to a question, I can look back and it's a little bit easier. Again, it's how my brain works. So, and I like to kind of rule things off as well as I go. Again, keep it methodical. So 4x add 2x is 6x. I've got my minus 6. Remember, the x's can't do anything to the minus 6's. Okay, apples and oranges, you can't put them together. Equals 42. So now, when we've got the x's by themselves, they've got this annoying little brother, if you like, little brother or little sister, they need to get rid of. How do you get rid of minus 6? You add 6. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. Okay, don't know why I put a line there, I should have done that hit there. Okay, so that means I'm left with 6x equals 48. Divide by the number of x's, so I'm going to divide by 6, divide by 6, x equals 48 divided by 6 is 8. Hopefully you see with that sort of question, if your times tables are good, it's just about remembering 3 simple steps. Well, it's not even just some simple rules, isn't it? Maths isn't as hard as everyone makes out. Okay, what's up next? Make x the subject of the formula y equals a over x. Y equals a over x. Y equals... Right. Oh, that's quite a mean one, isn't it? Because remember, we always need to get rid of whatever's being done to the x. At the moment, nothing's being done to the x is doing something to the a. So actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the divide by x. Okay, if I get rid of divide by x, I need to do the opposite, which is times by x. I'm doing that to get the x to the other side. Okay, so remember, this means a divided by x. If you've got like a fraction, 4 over 6, 4 over 6 means 4 divided by 6, if you're going to do it into a decimal, okay? So that means divide, and also means out of, okay? So divide by x, I'm going to times by x, and what I do to one side, I do to the other. So if I times this by x, it just becomes xy, x times y. You just put them next to each other, remember, with algebra, equals a. Now I can get the x by itself, simply by getting rid of the y. What's happening here is a multiplication, isn't it? How do I get rid of a multiplication? I divide by it. So I divide by y. I do the same to both sides. So I'm left with x equals a over y. Quite a tricky one, that one. Probably when I've got to something like that without doing changing the subject topic first. So if you understand that one, if you're new to changing the subject and you understand that already, then you're well ahead of the game. Nice one. We've got the nth term of 0.4, 0.8, 1.2 and 1.6. Well, I didn't even have to look at the question there actually, because the moment I saw 0.4 to 0.8, I could see what the rule was. So remember, the rule goes next to n, and then you create a new first number. So the rule is definitely going up by 0.4, isn't it? Okay, do double check it. It's very easy to be cocky and get, oh well, yeah, like I did a moment ago, 0.4. But I did double check it as I went. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So it's going to be 0.4n. Okay, because remember, whatever the rule is goes next to your n. New first number. So if it's 0.4 being added that way, it means it's taking away 0.4 this way. So 0.4 take away 0.4 is 0. So actually, there's going to be nothing there. The answer is simply 0.4n. Okay, last question is Birch. 5 add 5 squared divided by 2 times 3. So remember, brackets, indices, divide, multiply, add and subtract. So do the brackets first. What's inside my brackets? Well, I have got an indice. So this will actually become 5 add 25. And this one will become 2 times 3 is simply going to be, I'll write that out actually, 2 times 3. So 5 add 25 is 30, divided by 2 times 3 is 6. 30 divided by 6 is 5. Okay? Remember the rules of bid maths, don't be a Colin. Okay? If you've been in any of my maths classes, you know my story about Colin, one of the guys I know from the village club. He tried to argue that bid maths wasn't real, it didn't exist. And he was obviously clearly wrong. So, hopefully, day on day, you made some progress with that. And I'll see you Monday. Oh, before I forget, I've got my Reeboks on. It's probably my least favourite pair, if I'm honest. I think I've worn them 3 or 4 times. Yeah, I'm not really feeling them. Maybe I need to wear them more. But so what's this? I think 4 pairs, 5 pairs now, something like that. So have a really good weekend. Remember, be nice to your parents. It's not easy. Your parents are trying to get you to do the work. On one thing, on showing my homework, if there's not a submit button, you don't have to submit it. Okay. Hopefully, I can't speak for the other subjects, but I know the maths department. If you want you to submit it, there'll be a submit button. If there's not a submit button, we would have enclosed the marks, the answers, so you can mark it yourself. That is fine. You don't need to send a photo of it, don't need to email it to us. We are trusting your parents and you to spend a good amount of time each day. For some people, a good amount of time might be more than others. Don't obsess over sitting there and doing 7-8 hours of schoolwork a day, having a rigid timetable. Don't stress about that. Times are stressful enough as it is. Do make sure you're looking after yourself and your parents. Have a good one. Bye.